The galaxy was silent when the message began. No one knew who had sent it. No one understood why it was broadcast on every military channel, on every civilian screen, and on every fleet come link at the same time. Admirals froze mid-command. Soldiers stopped loading weapons. Civilians looked up from their daily work. The voice was calm, but heavy with something that carried beyond words. "This is Earth," the message began. The galaxy was not supposed to hear from Earth, to most. Species Earth was a small blue world, quiet and unimportant. Some had called it primitive. Others had laughed at the thought that such a planet could matter in galactic politics. And yet here was Earth's voice, commanding the attention of billions. Armies had been preparing for war. Fleets of ships had been positioned around a contested system. Everyone expected blood. The ground was ready for battle, soldiers waiting for orders. And then the broadcast came. Across the war front, generals looked at their troops. Something in their eyes began to shift. Some soldiers lowered their rifles. Some captains powered down weapons. Fear? No, it was not fear. It was something stranger. The armies began to surrender. No shot fired. No battle fought. 100,000 soldiers placed their weapons on the ground and raised their hands. Fleet ships turned off shields and powered down their cannons. The galaxy watched in disbelief. How could an entire army surrender without a fight? The answer was hidden inside the broadcast. The message was long. It did not threaten. It did not demand. It told a story about humanity, a story about Earth. The soldiers who listened felt something powerful in their chest. Some wept silently, unable to explain why. Some stood frozen, as if their spirit had been touched. The commanders tried to order resistance, but the orders were ignored. The broadcast was stronger than their ranks, stronger than fear of punishment. In every war zone, the same thing happened. Whole divisions knelt on the battlefield. Drone pilots shut off their controls. Even elite units, trained never to break, fell silent and laid down their arms. The galaxy asked, "Why?" What had Earth said? No one outside the battlefield knew the full message yet. The transmission was encrypted, spreading slowly. But witnesses told the same story. The soldiers surrendered not because they were defeated, but because their hearts had been broken open. Admiral Tarek of the Vorn Dominion smashed his fist against the table. He could not believe what was happening. His army, the strongest, most disciplined, had fallen apart. His ships floated powerless in orbit, their crews refusing to obey. "What magic is this?" he shouted. "What power do the humans use?" But there was no magic, no strange weapon, no mind control field. Only words. The Council on the Galactic Core demanded answers. Replayed fragments of the broadcast. The human voice was steady, clear, not threatening. It spoke of pain, of struggle, of hope. It spoke of Earth's wars, Earth's scars, and Earth's lessons. The message reminded soldiers of their own people, their own homes, their own families, waiting far away. It reminded them why they had joined the army in the first place, not for conquest, not for power, but for survival, for protection, for love. And so the strongest force in the galaxy was disarmed by something no weapon could block. Truth, but the galaxy was not at peace yet. Not everyone had heard the full broadcast. Not every leader wanted peace. Some wanted to bury the message. Some wanted to twist it. And some wanted revenge. In the dark halls of the Dominion, voices whispered of striking Earth before its words could spread further. If humanity could disarm an army with only a message, then Earth was more dangerous than any warship, and far away. The blue planet itself, the human who spoke those words, sat quietly in a hidden room. He was not a president, not a general, not a famous leader. He was someone no alien had ever heard of. Someone who had lived a life of silence, till now. But his words had changed everything. The galaxy had heard Earth. The armies had surrendered. And soon, everyone would know the truth of the broadcast. The council chamber was never silent. Normally, it echoed with voices, ambassadors arguing, leaders demanding, advisors whispering. But on this day, When the broadcast was replayed for the first time in full, not a single word was spoken. The voice of the human filled the chamber. It was not loud. It was not commanding. But every syllable carried weight. "I am not a soldier," the voice said. "I am not a ruler. I am only a human who has seen what war does. I know what it means to lose everything." The council listened as the story unfolded. The man spoke of Earth's past wars that burned continents, bombs that leveled cities, hatred that divided nations. He spoke of suffering so deep that generations carried scars, but then his tone shifted. "And yet," the voice continued, "we endured. We learned, we found ways to rise again. We discovered that survival is not only about strength of arms, but strength of spirit. Every child born on Earth is proof of our survival. We are a people who refuse to die." Dominion gritted his teeth. He wanted to shut the broadcast off. He wanted to mock it. Yet he could not look away. The human words stirred something old inside him, something he had buried long ago. On the battlefield, soldiers had felt this even stronger. Many had lived through their own wars before joining the Galactic armies. They too had seen destruction. They too had lost families. And when the humans spoke, it was as if Earth's pain was their pain, Earth's endurance their endurance. The human's voice did not promise power. It did not demand surrender. It only asked one question: how much? More blood must be spilled before we admit the truth. We are not enemies. We are all survivors. That single line was what broke the armies. General Kairos of the Vorn Dominion tried to order his men to fight on, shouted, cursed, even threatened execution. But his soldiers looked at him with empty eyes. Their weapons lay in the dust, untouched. His fleet captains refused to power their cannons. He could not command hearts that were no longer willing to kill. The council members sat frozen. Some were furious, some were afraid. Some, though, they would not admit it, were moved. "This is dangerous," hissed Counselor Zera. "Words like these can weaken discipline. They can spread rebellion." But Counselor Merrick of the Lyrians leaned forward, his voice almost a whisper. "No. These words may save us. Tell me, when was the last time an entire army surrendered without a fight?" The chamber erupted. In argument, some demanded that Earth be punished before its influence spread. Others argued that Earth had shown a new path forward. But no one could deny what had happened. The strongest military force in the galaxy had laid down its arms. Not from fear of death, but from a voice that carried truth. Meanwhile, in hidden corners of the galaxy, whispers spread. Soldiers who had heard the broadcast told others. Civilians replayed fragments secretly. Some called Earth dangerous. Others called Earth a beacon, but not all were moved. In a war room deep within the Dominion, a group of admirals plotted. "Admiral?" Tarek slammed his hand on the table. "Do you not see? Humanity has built a weapon greater than any fleet. If we allow their words to spread, no army will obey us. No soldier will kill for us. This is not peace. This is conquest through weakness." Another admiral nodded grimly. "Then Earth must be silenced before the galaxy listens." A plan was set into motion. Ships would be gathered. Fleets would be moved. Earth would be struck quickly and without warning. If the humans could not be ignored, then they would be destroyed. And still, on Earth itself, the man behind the broadcast sat quietly. He was not celebrated. He was not known. Outside his room, the world continued as normal. Humanity had no idea that their words had shaken the galaxy. But soon, they would learn. Because fleets were already moving toward Earth. The stars shifted as massive fleets moved through space. Thousands of warships left their home systems under secret orders, their destination, Earth. The Dominion commanders did not speak openly about their mission. Officially, it was a training exercise. Unofficially, it was a strike meant to end humanity's influence forever. If Earth's words could disarm armies, then Earth was more dangerous than any superweapon. The admirals believed this attack would be quick. Earth was seen as weak, only beginning to touch the stars. They thought no real defenses waited there, but some in the fleet felt uneasy. Soldiers whispered about the broadcast, about the human who spoke like no leader they had ever known. As the ships cut across space, the Council tried to stop them. Counselor Merrick sent desperate messages to the Dominion. If you strike Earth, he warned, you may awaken something you cannot control. But the Dominion ignored him. They believed words could not win wars. They believed only power mattered. Meanwhile, on Earth, life seemed quiet. Cities moved with daily rhythm. Children went to school. Workers filled factories, and the skies remained calm. Humanity did not yet know that fleets were gathering against them. Only a handful of leaders were aware, and even they did not fully understand how much danger was approaching in a hidden bunker. The man who made the broadcast sat before a table of Earth's commanders. They stared at him as if he were something strange, something unexpected. "You're telling us," one general said slowly, "that entire alien armies surrendered because of your words?" The man shook his head. "Not because of me. Because of what those words reminded them. War is not endless. Every soldier wants to believe there is something better to fight for. They only needed someone to say it." Commanders exchanged uneasy glances. Some believed him. Others thought it impossible. Then a warning siren echoed through the bunker. A signal had been intercepted. The Dominion fleets were on the move. Destination. Earth panic broke across the room. Maps lit up with red markers showing thousands of warships converging on the blue planet. Humanity had only weeks, perhaps days, before the Armada arrived. "What do we have?" demanded one commander. "How many ships can we launch?" The answer was grim. Earth had fleets, but not enough. A fraction of the Dominion's power. Technology had advanced, but compared to the Armada, humanity was outnumbered and outgunned. The man who made the broadcast looked at the maps quietly. Then he said, "Maybe we do not need to fight the way they expect." No one understood what he meant. Across the stars, the Dominion fleets grew closer. Soldiers inside the ships argued in hushed voices. Some had heard the human broadcast, had family who surrendered because of it. And now they were being ordered to kill the very planet whose words had touched them. "Why do we fight Earth?" one young pilot asked. "They did not threaten us. They only spoke." His captain glared at him, "Because Earth is a threat to order. If soldiers believe in peace, then wars cannot be won." The pilot did not reply, but his heart was troubled. The tension grew as the fleets closed in. Each passing hour brought Earth closer to destruction. And yet whispers spread among the soldiers. Whispers of the voice. Whispers of surrender without shame. Whispers that maybe, just maybe, this war was already lost, not for Earth, but for those who sought to crush it. Back on Earth, humanity prepared. Every defense system was activated. Fleets were scrambled. Factories worked day and night to build weapons. Civilians were told little, but rumors spread fast. Some were afraid, some were angry. But most stood with a quiet, steady resolve. Humanity had been underestimated before. Every invader in history had learned the same lesson: never gave up. In the night sky above, the first telescopes detected strange movements. The stars seemed to shift unnaturally. The Dominion fleets were near, and deep in the bunker, the man who spoke to the galaxy closed his eyes. He whispered only one sentence: "They think they come to silence us? But the galaxy is already listening." The skies above Earth began to change. Strange shadows appeared in orbit, too large to be meteors, too sharp to be natural. Then the warning sirens screamed the Dominion fleets had arrived. Thousands of warships darkened the edge of the solar system, their massive hulls reflected sunlight like steel monsters. The largest among them, command ships the size of cities, opened their hangar bays. Smaller destroyers spread out in perfect formation. The fleet was not hiding anymore. Every human city felt the tremor of fear.
Our news
Spread fast. The Dominion was here. Civilians crowded around screens. Some cried, some prayed. Others clenched their fists. Humanity had known this day would come. Inside Earth's command bunker, generals stared at the data feeds. They've deployed 9,000 ships, one whispered, his voice shaking. Another cursed. We have less than a tenth of that. Even with every weapon online, we cannot match their numbers. But the man who had spoken the broadcast sat quietly at the end of the table. His calmness unsettled the officers. You're not afraid? One commander demanded. The man looked up. Fear will not save us. Listen carefully. This battle is not only about weapons, it is about belief. They came here to destroy us, but many of their soldiers already doubt this war. We must remind them. Again, no one fully understood his plan, but they had no time. The Dominion fleet had already crossed the outer defenses. In orbit above Jupiter, the first clash began. Human ships fired plasma lances and missile swarms, lighting the black void with fire.
Ow.
Dominion destroyers returned with energy beams that tore through steel like paper. Explosions burned silently in space, scattering debris across the gas giants. Storms. The humans fought bravely, but the Dominion pressed forward. Wave after wave of ships advanced toward Earth. Inside one Dominion cruiser, a young officer stared at the battle screen. He watched Earth's smaller fleet holding its ground, refusing to retreat even as ship after ship was lost. He remembered the broadcast, remembered the voice that spoke of survival, of never giving up. Why do they fight like this? He whispered. They should know they cannot win. His captain snapped at him. They are desperate. Nothing more. But deep down, the officer felt the truth. This was not desperation. This was resolve. Back on Earth, the broadcast man stood before a camera. His face was plain, his voice steady. The same voice that had already shaken the galaxy now echoed again. But this time the transmission was stronger, sent straight into the middle of the Dominion fleet. To the soldiers among the stars, he said, I know you see Earth as an enemy. But before you fire again, ask yourself, who do you fight for? Do you fight for rulers who send you to die? Or do you fight for the ones waiting for you at home? Look at Earth. We will not surrender. Because behind every human ship, there are people who refuse to bow to tyranny. We ask you not to join us, but to remember who you are. The words struck like thunder inside Dominion ships. Crews fell silent. Gunners hesitated. Some lowered their weapons. Captains shouted at them, ordering them to fire, but the hesitation spread like fire across dry grass. In the middle of battle, ships stopped firing. Some drifted motionless. Few even turned away. The admirals of the Dominion roared in anger, sent threats, promises of execution, desperate orders to keep the fleet moving. But the broadcast continued, weaving through every channel, every frequency. On Earth's surface, people listened to. For the first time, fear was replaced with something else, hope. They saw not just ships and explosions, but soldiers out there beginning to question their orders. Humanity was not alone in this fight. The words were working again, but the Dominion was not finished. The strongest among them, Admiral Tarek, forced his flagship forward. His voice thundered across the fleet. Cowards, traitors, do not listen to their lies. Earth will fall today. Fire everything. His ship's cannons lit the void, striking hard at the human defense line. Several Earth ships were destroyed in blazing fire. The Dominion armada roared back to life under his iron command. The broadcast man watched the screens as more human ships fell. His eyes narrowed, but his voice did not shake. They will not stop easily. We will lose many, but cannot crush truth. Even if we fall, the galaxy has already heard us. Above Earth, the stars burned with war. The fate of humanity hung by a thread. The war above Earth turned into fire and silence. Human ships fought like wolves against lions, small but fierce, striking hard and refusing to retreat. But the Dominion armada was endless. For every alien ship that fell, 10 more pushed forward. Explosions lit the dark sky near the moon. Human cruisers cracked apart. Fighters burned in glowing trails as they broke under Dominion fire. Earth's fleet was being crushed slowly, piece by piece, in the command bunker. Officers shouted over one another, voices shaking. We can't hold them. They've broken through Mars' defense line. Casualties are rising. If the flagship falls, Earth will be exposed. The broadcast man stood in silence. His calm unsettled them more than the battle itself. Finally, he spoke. Numbers are against us. But not every Dominion soldier wants this war. They only need the courage to act. Above, in the middle of the Dominion fleet, that very thing began to happen. On the bridge of the cruiser Vathra, Lieutenant Ron refused his captain's order to fire. His hand shook as he stared at the targeting screen. Earth's ships were burning, but still they fought. And the words of the broadcast echoed in his mind. He thought of his younger brother waiting at home, thought of the promises he had made when he first wore the uniform to protect, not to slaughter. His captain shouted at him, even raised a weapon to force him. But Ron did something no one expected. He locked his ship's weapons not at Earth but at another Dominion vessel. And then he fired. The blast tore through a Dominion destroyer, shocking every ship nearby. Silence filled the comm channels. A Dominion had just attacked his own. At first, commanders thought it was a mistake. But then another ship turned its guns, not on Earth, but on its own fleet. And another. And another. Whispers spread like lightning. They're refusing the orders. They're fighting their own admirals. They've chosen Earth. Admiral Tarek roared with fury. His voice shook the channels like thunder. Traitors, I will have every one of you executed. But it was too late. Mutiny was spreading through the Dominion fleet. Soldiers who had been silent, afraid, now found their courage. Crews locked their captains out of control rooms. Gunners turned their cannons against their own flagships. The battle changed in an instant. Human ships, broken and battered suddenly, found unexpected allies. Dominion mutineers fought side by side with them, firing on the Admiral's loyalists. Explosions tore across the massive fleet as warships turned against each other. Inside the command bunker, Earth's generals stared at the screens in disbelief. They're helping us? One whispered. Not helping, the broadcast man corrected softly. They are choosing for themselves. But the battle was far from won. Admiral Tarek still commanded the largest portion of the fleet. A fortress of steel, cut through the chaos like a blade. Every cannon, every fighter, every missile was directed at crushing the rebellion and wiping out Earth in one strike. On his bridge, Tarek's eyes blazed with rage. You think words can defeat me? You think a few traitors can break the Dominion? I will burn your planet until nothing remains but ash. His ship began charging its superweapon, a colossal energy cannon powerful enough to destroy entire cities in a single shot. Its glow lit the void, a burning star aimed at Earth itself. On the ground, people watched in terror as the weapon powered. Up, the skies above turned bright. Every telescope caught the image of the cannon's growing light. In the bunker, the generals panicked. If he fires, millions will die. We can't stop that weapon. But the broadcast man did not panic. He leaned closer to the microphone, his voice steady. Admiral Tarek, you may destroy cities. You may burn ships. But you cannot kill truth. Even if Earth falls, the galaxy has already seen you for what you are. You are not strength. You are fear. For the first time, Admiral Tarek hesitated. His hand hovered over the command. The words had struck him, but his pride was greater than his doubt. With a snarl, he slammed the control forward. The cannon fired. The beam tore across space, brighter than a star, aimed straight for Earth. And in that instant, something happened that no one expected. Several Dominion mutineer ships threw themselves. In the path of the beam, the energy ripped through them, tearing them apart, but it weakened the shot. When it finally reached Earth's atmosphere, it was no longer strong enough to destroy a city. It struck in the ocean, boiling the water in two. Clouds of steam, billions watched, stunned. Soldiers aboard both fleets froze in silence. For the first time, Earth had not only survived, it had been protected by those who were once enemies. The battle was not over. But the galaxy had seen the impossible. The ocean boiled where the great beam had struck. Steam rose high into the atmosphere. but Earth was still alive. The Dominion had failed to destroy it. In orbit, silence fell for a moment. Soldiers across both fleets stared at the battlefield, stunned. They had just seen Dominion. Ship's loyal soldiers sacrificed themselves to save Earth. It was unthinkable. It was impossible, yet it had happened. On Earth, people watching in cities cheered through tears. Strangers hugged each other in the streets. For the first time, they saw proof that not every alien wished to see them destroyed. But Admiral Tarek was not finished. His rage burned hotter than his ship's reactor. He slammed his fists against the command chair. Cowards. You will die with the humans. All of you. His flagship pushed forward, supported by the loyalist fleet that still followed him. Thousands of Dominion warships formed a wall of steel and fire. Their cannons blazed, tearing through. Mutineer vessels and human defenders alike, the battle became chaos. Blue fire and red explosions filled the void. Human ships fought side by side with Dominion mutineers, but they were still badly outnumbered. For every rebel ship that rose, 3 more loyalists answered. In the command bunker, Earth's generals argued in panic. We can't win this. Even with mutineers, the numbers are too great. They'll reach the planet and bombard the cities. What do we do? The broadcast man stood silently, watching the screen. His eyes were calm, though the world seemed about to end. Finally, he spoke. You do not defeat fear by matching its strength. You defeat fear by showing it can no longer control you. The generals did not understand, but in the skies, his words began to take life. Mutineer captains broadcast their own messages. Soldiers spoke over open channels for all to hear. I will not slaughter innocents for the Dominion. We are not their weapons anymore. I fight for my family, not for their empire. One by one, Dominion ships broke formation. Some turned their guns on their commanders. Some refused to fire. Some even flew to shield Earth alongside the humans. Admiral Tarek roared in fury. His fleet was cracking apart in front of him, not from Earth's weapons, but from betrayal. You will burn for this. Every one of you. His flagship charged forward like a beast, cutting through mutineer defenses, blasting apart human cruisers. Its guns were too strong, its shields too thick. Every ship that tried to stop him was destroyed in fire. In the bunker, alarms screamed. The flagship was getting closer. If it reached Earth's orbit, it could bombard the surface directly. Millions would die. Nothing can stop that monster, a general whispered. But the broadcast man shook his head. There is always a way. Above, mutineer ships began forming a desperate plan. They knew they could not pierce Tarek's shields with normal weapons, but what if they used themselves as weapons? The Vaethra, the first ship to rebel, led the charge. Lieutenant Ron stood on its bridge, staring at the burning flagship. His voice was steady as he gave the order. Full speed, straight at the Admiral's ship. His crew hesitated, fear in their eyes, but then they nodded. They too remembered the broadcast. They too believed. The Vaethra accelerated, engines burning like fire. Loyalist ships tried to intercept, but mutineer allies cleared the path. The cruiser slammed into Tarek's shields at full speed, tearing itself apart in a storm of light. The impact weakened the flagship's defenses, cracks spreading across its glowing barrier. Earth's fleet saw their chance. A volley of human missiles streaked forward, striking the weak point. Explosions ripped across the flagship's hull. Still it endured, but the shield was faltering. Tarek's voice roared across every channel. You think you can kill me? I am the Dominion. You are nothing. But his voice was no longer strong. It sounded desperate. The broadcast man spoke again, his words carried into the heart of the battle. You are not the Dominion. You are only one man clinging to fear. Look around you, Tarek. Your soldiers have chosen. The galaxy has chosen. Your time is ending. For the first time, the mighty admiral's hand trembled, but his ship still moved forward. His weapons still burned. Earth was still in danger. The battle was reaching its breaking point. The next strike could decide everything: victory or destruction, and above Earth, Under the burning stars, the galaxy watched. The battlefield above Earth had turned into chaos and fire. Wreckage of ships drifted like burning stars, lighting the darkness with silent explosions. Mutineer vessels and human cruisers fought side by side, but Admiral Tarek's flagship pushed, through everything, unstoppable. The great warship looked like a floating fortress, its hull scarred but unbroken. Every cannon fired without rest, tearing apart rebel ships, smashing Earth's defenses. It moved closer and closer to the blue planet below. Inside Earth's command bunker, the generals were pale. If that ship reaches low orbit, he'll bombard. The cities, we've thrown everything at it. Nothing works. Even the mutineers can't hold him back. The broadcast man stood calmly at the center of the room. His voice was soft but carried through the noise. Fights with fear, and fear is powerful. But it only rules as long as people obey. If even one more soldier chooses to resist him, his power will break. Above, the flagship prepared its next strike. A massive cannon, larger than anything seen before, began to charge. Its glow lit the battlefield, brighter than the sun. The target was Earth itself. Admiral Tarek's voice thundered across every channel. You traitors will watch this world burn. You will see what happens to those who defy the Dominion. His soldiers looked at the glowing cannon, at the planet below. Many wanted to obey, to follow orders as they had been trained. But the words of the human broadcast still echoed inside them. One of his officers finally broke. She stepped forward, her voice shaking. Admiral, this is not war. This is slaughter. Tarek turned on her, eyes blazing. Silence. Coward. But she did not move. Around the bridge, more crew members hesitated. Their hands froze above their controls. Lowered their heads. Some refused to fire. The mutiny spread again, this time inside the heart of the flagship. Terror roared with fury. He drew his weapon and aimed at his own officer. But before he could fire, the ship shook violently. Mutineers inside had disabled one of the reactors, and explosions rattled the great vessel. Still, Tarek refused to fall. His eyes burned with madness. You think you can take my ship from me? I will destroy Earth myself if I must. He shoved aside his officers, slammed his hand on the cannon controls, and forced the firing sequence to continue. The massive weapon blazed brighter, moments from release. In orbit, human and rebel ships watched in horror. If the cannon fired, Earth would not survive. They had seconds left. Then a single human ship broke formation, the old flagship Resolute. Damaged, burning, half its crew gone, it still pushed forward. Its captain's voice came over the channel. We'll stop him, even if it costs us everything. The Resolute accelerated, engines screaming. Dominion loyalists tried to block it, but rebel ships cleared a path with desperate fire. The human vessel charged straight toward Tarek's flagship head-on, without hesitation, in the bunker. The generals watched in silence. Tears filled their eyes. The broadcast man closed his eyes, whispering softly, "They fight not for conquest, but for each other." The Resolute slammed into the Dominion flagship just as the cannon fired. The collision twisted metal and shattered decks. The cannon's beam fired wildly off course, missing Earth, tearing instead into the empty dark of space. The explosion was blinding. Both ships were engulfed in fire. Shock waves of energy ripped across the battlefield, scattering debris for thousands of kilometers. For a moment, it seemed as if both vessels were gone. Silence fell across the galaxy. Then, through the smoke, the Dominion flagship emerged, burning, broken, but still alive. Admiral Tarek's furious voice echoed again. You think this will stop me? I am not defeated. I will never be defeated. But his ship was dying. Half his guns were gone. His shields flickered. Mutineers fought openly. Inside his decks, turning his own soldiers against him. And now, every eye in the galaxy was watching. Billions of screens across countless worlds showed the great admiral, once the symbol of Dominion's strength, struggling, bleeding, refusing to accept the truth. The broadcast man's voice spread again across the stars. Look at him. What fear becomes when it is challenged an empty roar, desperate to be heard. His power is ending because his soldiers no longer believe in him, because the galaxy no longer believes. On the bridge of the flagship, even Tarek's most loyal crew looked away. His voice no longer commanded. It only echoed in the silence of defeat. But Tarek still clung to the controls, still forcing his ship toward Earth. Broken, burning, nearly destroyed, yet still moving. The final moment was coming. One last strike would decide everything, and the galaxy held its breath. The Dominion. Flagship moved like a wounded beast through the void. Fire poured from its torn hull. Its shields flickered weakly, broken in places, yet still it pressed toward Earth. Admiral Tarek stood at the command, his uniform burned, blood across his face, but his eyes blazing with hatred. I will not fall to words. He roared into the come. Earth will burn, even if I die with it. Across the galaxy, billions watched his madness. The once great admiral now looked more like a broken tyrant, fighting not for victory, but for pride. Inside Earth's command bunker, tension hung heavy. The generals leaned over the screens. He's nearly through. Nothing left can stop him. We've lost too many ships. We don't have the firepower. The broadcast man stood tall, his voice calm. He's already defeated. He just doesn't know it yet. Above Earth, rebel Dominion ships and the remaining human fleet regrouped. Together, they surrounded the burning flagship like wolves circling a dying lion. The galaxy's eyes watched as old enemies now fought side by side. United against the admiral who refused to bow, Tarek screamed orders to fire, but many of his own gunners refused. Some laid down their weapons, some joined the mutiny, seizing control of the guns to aim them at their own admiral. His voice no longer commanded loyalty, commanded only fear. And fear was crumbling. At last, Captain Run, aboard one of the mutineer ships, spoke on all open channels. His voice was firm. This ends now. No more blood for a tyrant. For Earth. And for every world that suffers under his rule. Mutineer ships unleashed their full firepower. Human vessels added their last missiles. Together, they rained destruction onto the flagship. Explosions tore across its sides, breaking apart its engines, ripping open its decks, takered. On the bridge, as sparks rained around him, his officers fled, alarms blared. Fires spread across the walls, but still, he held the controls, his eyes wild. No, I am Dominion. You cannot kill me. No, you cannot. The final strike came from above. A human cruiser and two mutineer destroyers dove together, their weapons blazing. Their combined fire tore through the admiral's bridge in a storm of light. For a heartbeat, Tarek's roar echoed across the channels. Then silence. The great flagship shuddered one last time, exploded. A storm of fire lit the void, brighter than the sun. The shockwave rolled across space, scattering debris, pushing ships aside. Then only silence remained, broken only by the crackle of cum-channels. Admiral Tarek was gone. On Earth, cheers erupted in every city. People cried, shouted, embraced one another. Across the galaxy, soldiers watching the broadcast lowered their weapons. Civilians whispered the same words over and over. The admiral is dead. The war is over. In the command bunker, the generals slumped into their seats, exhausted. They turned to the man who had spoken the words that changed everything. You did. This one whispered, not our guns, not our ships. Your voice. The man shook his head. Not my voice. Our truth. Humanity only reminded them of what they already carried inside. They chose for themselves. In orbit, surviving mutineer ships hailed Earth, not as enemies, but as allies. They asked for no surrender, no terms. They only said one thing. Earth. Spoke, and we listened. The Council and the Galactic Corps could no longer ignore the truth. Whole armies had surrendered. Fleets had mutinied. An admiral had fallen, not two weapons, but two words. The galaxy now knew something dangerous. Something. Powerful Earth was not weak. Earth was not primitive. Earth had a strength no weapon could measure, and so on that day, as the smoke cleared from orbit and the fires cooled in the wreckage, the galaxy asked the same question. How did one human voice bring an army to its knees? The answer was simple. Because humanity had survived its own darkness. Because Earth had endured what others could not. Because when the galaxy waited for Earth's response, Earth gave not only ships, not only weapons, but truth. And truth had defeated fear. The war was over. The galaxy would never be the same again.